Hello everyone, Mrs. Greathouse here. We're working on section 9.3, how to name acids and bases. Okay, you see a fire ant here. You may know about these from the southern United States. Okay, when they bite you, they really sting because they're injecting you with formic acids. Acids and bases can be dangerous. I want you to be able to recognize the formulas for acids and bases for your safety. Okay, what is an acid anyway? It's a compound that contains one or more hydrogen atoms that produces hydrogen ions when dissolved in water. Acids have various uses. Okay, in this picture here it shows some etched glass. That decoration in the glass was etched using acids. Okay, notice that acids are compounds. They are going to be made up of an anion and a cation, just like our ionic compounds. Okay, so there's going to be a positive part to it and a negative part to it. The positive part in an acid is usually a hydrogen ion. So when you see a compound that begins with H, you need to start thinking that it is an acid. Okay, you're going to have 3 rules for naming acids. Here's rule number 1. Name an acid with the general formula H subscript N X. Notice that there's no oxygen here. Okay, that X element can be filled in with any anion that ends in "ide", okay, such as our halogens in group 7. Okay, so here's our rule. When the name of the anion ends in "ide", the acid name begins with the prefix hydro. The stem of the anion has the suffix "ic" and is followed by the word acid. Our example is HCl, or hydrochloric acid. Okay, so if we were to name this one HBr, we would follow the same pattern. The hydro, fill in the blank, ic, acid. Okay, we're going to fill in the blank with bromic for bromine. Okay, so we notice that this is called hydrobromic acid. Okay, the important thing to remember about using rule number 1 is that your acid compound will not have any oxygen in it. Okay, rule number 2. When the ion name ends in "ite", the acid name is the stem of the ion with the suffix "ous", followed by the word acid. Okay, so when we have an acid and it comes from an "ite", we're going to name it with the ending of "ous". Here's a little story to help you to remember that. Say you're in a relationship with someone and they come up to you and they say, "I need to talk to you." And you say, "Well, what is it about?" And they say, "Well, it's about us." Okay, we're going to stretch that a little bit to help us remember how to name our acids. That little stretch is "ites", about us, but we spell it "ous". Okay, our example is HNO2, and we're going to call that nitrous acid. Here's how it works. Okay, if we put that acid in water, it's going to break down into a hydrogen ion plus this anion. I hope you recognize that anion. Okay, if not, use Nick the Camel to help you figure it out. Okay, this is nitrite. Okay, so our acid comes from an ite. So we have to give it an us, O-U-S ending. So this becomes nitrous acid. Okay, rule number 3 for acids. When our anion that makes up our acid ends in ate, we are going to name it with the suffix ic followed by the word acid. Okay, to help you remember this, think I ate something icky. You're going from an ate anion to an acid that ends in ic. Okay, your example is HNO3, that's nitric acid. Okay, so if we take a look at this one and we put this acid in water, it would break up into an H plus and NO3 minus anion. HNO3 you're going to recognize as nitrate. Okay, so when we name that, we have to name it nitric acid because it came from an ate, so we give it the ic ending. Okay, here's another one for you. Let's look at H2SO4. Okay, even though it starts with a hydrogen, it has a subscript of 2, you still want to think that it's an acid. Okay, remember when I said all these acids were neutral compounds? Okay, we have to remember that when we put this in water, it's going to break down to 2 H plus ions plus an SO4 2 minus. Okay, so we have our 2 minus here. So I just want you to notice that acids are compounds. They're going to be neutral. In this acid, we have 2 positive charges on our hydrogen and 2 negative charges on our anion. Okay, what's the name of this anion here? I hope you said sulfate. Okay, so this must be then sulfuric acid. Okay, naming bases is super easy. It's the same way that we would name other ionic compounds. Okay, the name of the cation is followed by the name of the anion. Our bases, for the most part, the ones that we're going to use, are going to end with the hydroxide anion. Okay, so AlOH parentheses 3 is aluminum hydroxide, and that's just how we name our bases. Okay, so if we had CaOH2, okay, that could be a base, and we would just name it calcium hydroxide. Okay, notice that these are neutral compounds as well, and we would use crisscross method if we had to write the compound for them. Okay, so that's how we name acids and bases. Bring me your questions and we'll do more practice in class. Thanks.